You better have seasoning, aye. Girl, the way that you look, man, I know it ain't no easy thing, aye. My sauce and my mix and blend, we are seasoning.
So, hello, welcome, greetings to the APS podcast. I'm with the man there, Marlz, Sunni, Leo. So, something I've been reading a lot, and I think it's quite a topic that a lot of people should really look into, is basically intuition versus your logic. And why do you not think it's really been taught a lot? Because I believe your intuition is powerful, yet there's not a lot of people, well, there's people teaching it, but it's not on a larger level that we should really be aware of the kind of powers we have as humans and as people. What do you not think about that? Intuition and logic. Why is it not being
Can I read the definition of both?
Go on then, talk to me.
So we have a bit of context. So intuition is the ability to understand something instinctively without the need for conscious reasoning.
I think that's powerful.
Yeah.
Like,
Logic.
why wouldn't that be taught?
Once you finish, Marlz.
Sorry.
I want to.
Logic. Oh no. Tell a lie.
Because intuition is some real stuff inside of you.
I think most people know what logic is, right? Intuition is probably the one that we want to make sure we've got a definition for. But one thing I want to throw straight in the mix is.
Sorry. Let me throw it because it's maybe not. Logic is the systematic study of valid rules of inference.
Yeah, so basically, you've got a table of, or a sequence of events that add up to a logical conclusion. So maths is a very systematic understanding of what logic is. You do X equation to get X answer, right? So in answering your question, I also kind of want to plug one thing in there. And there's a book called Blink. I don't know if you've read it.
Heard of it, I haven't read it.
Who's the author? Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, seeing he's
Blink. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's very
Outliers.
much. It's very relevant to this topic. But basically, the book basically states that we have an innate understanding or ability to put something together before we even know we put it together. Our brain will maybe pull out an answer before we even understand that the answer is already in our minds. Yeah. So I'll give you an example, right? There was in the book, there's an example of an old sculpture, a Greek sculpture, and basically they take this Greek sculpture to the finest, not architects, whoever sculpts some of these classic pieces together. But basically, he takes this sculpture to someone who is very renowned in the business and says, "Is this a real deal?" So he looks at it and he says, "No," straight away. And the guy says, "Why?" And he says, "I can't give you the answer why.
I just know.
But I know it's not real. It's not a genuine. It's not the genuine article." Now, then he goes through the processes of evaluating it, assessing it, examining it, and it has everything that would make it a real deal, but he still thinks it's a fake. Long and short is, it turns out to be a fake, but the rationale couldn't tell him why it was a fake. So essentially what I'm getting from you is, why are we not able to teach or hone our skills in regards to intuition as opposed to logic? I think because it's something that is natural, uncontrollable.
And I'm not saying that there's a textbook process to teach it, but I think from a young age we should be made aware of these kind of elements that we own, because it's part of who we are. And I feel a lot of that over the years, probably throughout, because back in previous civilizations, that was a powerful thing. Yeah. I think for some reason over the years, it's been proper watered down. It's really been suppressed. Do you think? If somebody's not aware of these things, or around people that is aware of these things and vibrations and energy and all them, you may never know.
Let me ask you a question. When you say teach, okay, what do you envision, or what do you foresee that looking like? Cool.
So the same way we're being taught maths, English, science, and all them kind of things, those kind of curriculum, which education is another thing that is a deep one for me, because it's so flawed, but another talk, another time.
Very flawed, yeah.
I feel that if you're going to be preparing people for life, also prepare them about themselves in terms of, yes, you're going to, well, it's arguable that you will need these elements in your life, but all the more reason to learn elements within yourself that can allow you to help with decision making, with relationships.
Where do you think it should be taught?
As soon as possible.
Where do you think it should be taught?
I feel there should be somewhere in school that has, even if it's one semester of the whole time you're in school, I think there should be some element of it being taught in that surrounding.
I think that it can be taught in schools, and I agree with you. But I think that as well, like that's something I reckon at home gets instilled in you.
I agree.
Even that trust you got.
But then again, your household may not have that.
No, I'm not saying that. I think that's where you get a very good understanding of it. In that
a very separate topic, right? We're not going to get into this too much, but school teachers and supply teachers and support teachers and whatever else, think about it like this. Kids are there for the majority of most days. So the influence they have on children and their upbringing and whatever it is that they learn or understand is very much influenced by the people they engage with in the school environment. What I'm getting from what you're saying is if that should be taught in school, then you're placing an additional responsibility on people that actually, in my opinion, shouldn't have that responsibility placed on them. So it's almost like the understanding of finance being taught in school. I 1,000,000% understand that there are elements of life that we would most definitely benefit from in terms of knowing from a much younger age as opposed to understanding through experience at an older age. Whether that be to do with credit or managing money or saving or whatever it might be. But where does the element of responsibility come from parents then?
Fair point. So maybe school may not be the best place to teach it. I don't know. I just threw that out there because obviously when you think teaching, you think school. Somewhere down the line of your development, I feel there should be a lot more emphasis on things about intuition and your inner being. I don't know where, I ain't got the answers for that one, but I feel that should be there should be more awareness on those kind of elements of who you are as a person, because I feel that those elements will allow you to navigate a lot of things that you can't think about.
If we're saying intuition it's innate, you can't really, it's like nature nurture, you can't teach.
But it can be developed.
I don't think you can teach intuition. It's like when they say, I just knew, like the sculpture, something's wrong with it, I don't know what it is, I don't know why, trust me, it's not real.
Fair point.
Because that was something, he didn't learn that, he wasn't taught that, he just knew. And it's the same when they say, you meet a person, you say, it's just not the one for me.
All right, maybe
I'm
teaching.
not sure why he's not the right one, but he's just not.
All right, maybe teaching could be the wrong word, but let me switch that to awareness. Yeah, because not really a lot of awareness on things on the nature of intuition, which generations ago was so powerful. Why is it not now in terms of...
When you say powerful, what do you mean?
So, for example...
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like back in times of when civilizations were like... Simpler, I guess. But you was more in tune with nature. You was more in tune with yourself. Yeah, it was a thing to... There will be people in your community who may have been seen as the shaman or... For whatever, I don't know, like...
Have that deeper understanding.
Them deeper understandings.
You've got
and people would go to them.
Guru Gobind Singh, like this in the Sikh community, I imagine you've got what are they called?
Gurus,
the gurus. Yeah. They're the people that are looked to in terms
civilization.
of
exactly.
So
my point is, all I'm saying is that why isn't that now? Like I feel that will be powerful for so many people right now.
I think you're right. I think that it would be powerful. One thing I think is because we're so quick. Not us, but I think society is so quick to shoot people down. Like, go logically, think logically, this is how you do it. And sometimes you have to put a bit of faith in yourself and say, you know what, actually,
this is what I think.
This is what I think, actually.
Even before that, sometimes some things just don't feel right. Yeah. But you don't listen to that voice. That's what I'm saying.
I got an example.
Things like that, I feel, should be pushed a lot more, or at least have a lot more awareness of it, because that's a powerful force.
So you're saying, basically, you think these things should be harnessed more, as opposed to placing
harnessed and more awareness, I feel.
I've got an example of that. So, before I opened my restaurant, so before I did that, I sold my other business, I saved some money, and I was a bit in limbo because I was looking for somewhere to open this restaurant. I couldn't find the right premises. So in between, I thought, let me apply for a job because I don't know how long I'm going to be without a wage now. So I applied for some jobs and I got called for a area manager job. A store manager job for a supermarket. And they called me for it. I went through the processes and I went through the interviews and that. And at the end, they said, we're really impressed with you. We want you to come in as a store manager, as an assistant manager, built to a store manager within 4 years, wanting to be an area manager. The wage packet was good, company car by the end of it, good benefits, everything. Logically, I should have gone with that. Like, logically, it ticked all the boxes. And when I asked my dad, I was like, yo, Dad, like, obviously this is what I want to do. This is the opportunity I've got, which is a very good opportunity. What should I do? And he said to me, he said, yo, do what you think. So what do you think's right? And then I said, cool. I sat down with it. I called the supermarket place back. I said, you know what? I'm sorry, but I have to decline. 4 months later, I found a restaurant.
Intuition. Yeah. Get me well done.
Props as well, for real.
So how does somebody tune into that? Do you know what I mean? How do we all have it?
I think right now there's
how
so
do you
much
develop
distraction. Like you were saying back in civilization sort of started. It was nature. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't technology as it is now.
Yeah.
There weren't as many buildings and cars and technology and whatever else. So now we have so much of that around us that only now, maybe in the last couple of years, we're all more self-aware. But in my opinion, to answer your question, how you hone it is by being self-aware. But reminding yourself you need to be self-aware.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Wait, I'd love to have a woman on here because I want to know about, you ever heard of
Women's intuition?
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
I was
right?
gonna say this, but before I don't really want to go too much into that because none of us are female. You can't call on
that's a
anybody.
powerful thing.
But one place I want to go is obviously you're saying about being self-aware. How do you get to that point though?
What do you mean?
How do you get to the point of self-awareness?
I think if you're in an environment where you can express it openly and it's not knocked back, I think it leads you to.
So this is my ultimate point, right? I think the issue becomes more so that if you look at what society does, right? We go into school and we have to get in at 8 o'clock or 7:45 or whatever it is, and we're in school for a period of time, and you have to be in lessons for a structured amount of time. You have to, if you do something wrong, you're reprimanded for whatever it is that you do. The exams or the coursework that you do or the lessons that you take are all very much logic based. Some of the lessons or the courses you might take are around. If you do something like sociology, you can put in your own understanding of things or concepts of things, and you have a little bit more freedom.
Theory, yeah.
But in essence, society tells us from birth that we have to fit into a system.
Yeah.
The rat race.
Schools are almost a mini prison system.
So
the way it makes you head to jail when you're in school.
1,000,000%.
Mini prison system.
That's what it is.
So what I'm trying to say in this is obviously, and drawing back to what your question is, Jay, is why is it not taught? Why do we not hunt? I think it's a choice. If I'm honest, if we're gonna parent any different to what generations before have parented, I think personally it's about actually giving children the space to develop their own mindsets as opposed to imposing something that we may have learned in our own struggles, trials, tribulations, lessons, experiences, whatever they may or may not have been. But I think it's actually about allowing a young person to explore whatever it is that their thought processes are. So when they say ask open-ended questions when it comes to children, that allows a child to explore all of the things that maybe they are contemplating at that particular time. 99% of the things that go through their minds might be wrong, but regardless of that being the case, it gives them the space to be free in their thought processes. So when you're saying intuition should be potentially harnessed and encouraged, I think it starts with parenting as opposed to school. Because if a parent, let's say for example, I watched I Am Athlete podcast, and we was talking about Dwayne Wade and the way he parents his transgender son, who is a female. I can't remember what her name is now, but long and short is he had to make a change in terms of how he understood his child, and he had to make a change in how he understood her thought processes and the way he understood his own thought processes. So giving a young person or a child the space to develop and evolve and explore all the things that they think, feel, or might see, I genuinely think that's what actually allows us to develop our intuition, as opposed to being caged in terms of a boy is this, a girl is that.
So let me bounce off that when you said intuition, right? So going through the school system and college and uni, whatever else, to me that is the rat race. That's how we're built to be successful, right? So maybe I'm saying this objectively, maybe the reason why we're not taught to be self-aware and like listen to our instincts and listen to our intuition is because the teaching system or the curriculum sees no value in it. We're taught maths, English, science, geography, RE, all that kind of stuff because it has value in jobs that we want to go into. So maths is obviously good for
Is it?
Or
is it good in terms of
hold on.
system?
So that's what I'm saying
true.
objectively, as in from, it's not my opinion, I'm saying just objectively.
Yeah.
So maths might go into finance, science might go into animals and so on and so forth. So I'm saying for the curriculum, where is the value in teaching a child, listen to your instinct?
But then
where does that become financial for the child?
Yeah, I hear that. But then this is where you have to argue, not even a thing, is the educational system, which I won't get into because when I did my homework on the history of it, I had to sit down.
Curriculum's done, yeah.
But my point is that if they claim that they're preparing you for life, why are they missing out certain elements?
And also, what life? The life back, because the curriculum hasn't really changed in terms of the topics.
Trust me.
So if we're talking when our parents and grandparents went to school 70 years ago, the world has changed. So why hasn't the curriculum changed?
That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying the topics are the same.
Tweaked it.
But in terms, they've tweaked it. But why? Because obviously our life expectations now are far different to 50 years ago.
Are you going off of what you understand, or are you going off of research?
As in curriculum wise,
Yeah.
I know teachers. Like the curriculum.
You and me both. So I'm asking.
So the curriculum for me, as in the topics that are taught, has not changed. My mum can tell you
the subjects
close to 60 years. She's like, I learned trigonometry. I didn't understand it, but I learned it. I learned algebra.
Your sister, right?
Yeah.
She was probably maybe your little brother.
Yeah.
He's in school right now,
13,
right?
14, yeah.
So maybe after this, ask him what he's learning in terms of history, and then think about what you learned in history in school. So I'm gonna take
his answer won't be black. I can tell you that much.
No. So I'm gonna give you an example in terms of black history of what I learned. So
in school.
Yeah, in school, all I saw was slavery, Muhammad Ali. This is real talk. I promise you.
Martin Luther King.
Slavery, Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. That's it.
The fact that you learnt those last two in school is impressive to me.
I never got my
for me, I don't think that's impressive because all you've shown me is struggle. All you've shown me in black culture is struggle. That's not what represents black culture for me.
No, of course.
True history.
Or true history.
That's the system keeping you where they want to keep you.
Now, and this is exactly my point. So when you look at,
they're going to teach you come from a line of kings.
When you look at potentially, I'm not going to say it will have changed massively, but the generation we're in now, 2021, right? Look at BLM last year. Look at the amount of different cultures of people that went out and marched in London, in Birmingham, in
Global.
America, in Switzerland, wherever it might have been. I don't know where everybody marched, but the point is everybody looked different. Whereas if you go back to the 60s and you looked at the Martin Luther King marches, everybody was black because obviously the only common goal was black people because we wanted civil rights.
So do you think it? So the reason you're asking that question about my brother, do you think it's possible that he has now been exposed to more history about black?
I think it is possible that he will have been exposed to more history that is positive around black people than maybe we.
Nah, save it.
Do you think
let's call him right now and find out?
Do you think that that's because the school system changed or because kids were asking questions they had to change?
And this isn't me necessarily saying it's fact. I'm just going on what society is now, and genuinely generally what I would say is school is very much a reflection of the times.
Yeah.
Oh, what, he locked you off?
No,
but if you look at some of the things that they teach, right? They will tell. Okay, let's say for example, now we know you don't necessarily have to go to university to be successful. In our generation, our parents said you must go to school, you must study hard.
Who was the last ones?
And now everything has changed. Look at what we're doing right now. I'm not necessarily saying our podcast is a money making scheme, but
it is though.
But
it will be.
Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Spotify if you're watching.
Nike.
Apple as well.
You on right now, but
Apple.
it's still hulling me. You get me?
There.
Anyway, look. Regardless, the point is there are so many different avenues to make money and be entrepreneurial now. School, in essence, once you pass the statutory years of schooling ages, it's not necessarily essential.
So hold on. So because you said uni and school, right? So I would say that logic probably fits more into school life and intuition fits more into uni life, because there's a bit more freedom to impose your
I'd say
own.
intuition fits more into entrepreneurial life as opposed to
Yeah,
uni,
I was
because
gonna touch
uni
on
is
that.
still going
Yeah.
through
Well, I guess,
the
yeah,
systematic.
I'd say
yeah.
I would agree with you, but the reason why I wouldn't say solely entrepreneurial is because when I started to finish sort of like year 10, for me, year 9, year 10, that's when, and year 11, that's when I started like
branching out.
the street stuff, like, do you see what I'm
Okay.
saying? Just, that was my start for me, yeah. When I finished school, I was neck deep in it. My point is, I weren't listening to my intuition to tell me,
Was it logic though?
nah, it was more influence that led me.
It was around it,
But
too.
was you listening to your intuition that you wanted to be a
I was
boss?
listening
You've gone
to
the wrong way around.
No. The business stuff didn't come until
Okay.
I had gone through a phase,
Yeah.
and then I need to start making decisions on my life.
Yeah.
But my point is,
So hold on. That bit where you said I need to start making decisions. What was that?
Let him
Was that
finish.
what you put into
Let him
it was
finish,
because
though.
a lot of negative stuff was happening.
So it was logic. It was like
Nah,
it's sensible
bruv.
for me to move
I
out
was
of this.
feet, bruv. Police are coming to my yard, bruv. Things are telling me this isn't going well. So everything in me was telling me I need to start making real decisions because I
gonna
can't
go
keep
well.
doing this.
Yeah.
My point is, if I was aware, I feel if I was a lot more aware of those feelings and listening to those gut feelings and voices saying this is wrong, you shouldn't be doing this, I would have probably saved a lot of stuff out of my life. My point, this is what I'm saying. Why isn't this kind of being? Why ain't there a lot of awareness on this?
I think it's a parental thing. I very much think it's about how you parent your children. I think coming from a family of black, Asian cultured people, we're very much told work hard, get education. That was a generation, right?
Naturally, yeah.
And
Quite spiritual as well, though.
I'm not saying that doesn't come into
I know.
it, but coming from where our parents came from, we're coming from a family of immigrants who had a level of hardship first off coming from to this country, right? So with that being the case, the first and foremost is very much let's put our kids in a position where nothing can be taken away from them, and the only thing that can't be taken away from you is your qualifications.
Yeah.
Whatever you have up here is not able to be taken away from you by anybody.
Can't be diluted. It's
Exactly. So I think our parents and our families came from a place where we need to make sure our kids are in a position where they are set up in the way that families over here are already set up. Now, we are coming from a different perspective where we understand, whilst that is very
privileged enough to
1,000,000%, while we are of the understanding that whilst that's definitely important, education, learning, understanding, we also understand that intuition plays a very big part in development.
Yeah.
So we have an opportunity to now teach our kids things in a different way.
So you're saying it's a generational thing?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Things change over time. Our parents will have taught them one thing. Our parents will have taught us another thing. We will teach our kids something else, and they will teach their kids something else. And it's all about evolution. It's all about, for me, there's one thing that me and Craig talk about all the time: nepotism.
Yeah.
When have we ever had an opportunity with immigrant parents had an opportunity to say, we are already established, you guys go and do what you want to do and find yourselves. You know, for real.
that wouldn't happen.
No, for real. Find yourselves. That shit never happened to me.
I know where it would
It's
happen.
like, yo,
But
you
yeah.
better go find this bill.
You know what I'm
You know
saying?
what I mean?
It wouldn't
Exactly.
happen. It wouldn't
So
happen.
the understanding that we have now, and what we're doing is trying to make sure we're in as certified a position as possible so that we can give our kids the opportunity to say, I had a conversation with my missus, right? And we was talking about buying a kid first car ever. And for me, when I remember when my mum was like, oh, and this is no disrespect to my mum, obviously. She's like, look, I worked hard, blah blah blah. You got to earn your own money. You got to work for it. If you want a car, you know, I help you with driving lessons. But if you want a car, you got to buy that
That's your
shit
business.
yourself, my
Yeah,
guy.
100%.
So, but when I was talking to my missus, she was like, why would you put your kids through the same thing that you went through just because you went through it?
Because I learned.
But what? But is it a lesson that you need to learn, or is it a lesson that is just something you had to learn? So before you answer it, and it's almost a rhetorical question. What I'm trying to say is, why would you make your kid work 20 hours a week and save up every penny they have to buy a car and then blow all their savings
on that one thing,
as opposed to help them get to where they need to get to
financially? Okay.
Help them get to where they need to get to financially and allow them to save that money and put it into something that they might actually be able to turn something into. What if they said, Mom, Dad, I want to start a podcast and it's gonna cost this amount of money, and they said, but I got to buy this I got to spend this for the car, so I can't afford it. Well, if you took that away from them, take that option of having to buy the car, I don't have to buy the car. Shit, let me just put these 2 bags in the podcast and keep it moving. What's to say they don't turn into into a Joe Rogan?
Or maybe they buy the car and end up making a delivery.
Maybe.
Or Just Eat.
Maybe. But the point is the idea of privilege is something that hasn't been introduced to us in our generation as often as I'm not saying there aren't privileged black people or Asian people in this country, because there definitely are. And there are very much very educated and privileged black people in this country as well. However, if you compare to white counterparts, because we're not from this country, the likelihood of and also going through hundreds of years of slavery and being held back as well, there's a level of starting way further back in history than our white counterparts. So with that being the case, irrespective of where we are now, we're still not in the same position as the majority of white counterparts. And this is, for me, this isn't even a race thing. This is more a situation where we have an opportunity to educate our kids and give our kids something that we may not necessarily have been able to. But
there's something that
exactly.
I read.
Why would you make them have the same fight you had when you can just give? Don't try and
give your kids what you never had. Teach them what you never knew.
Yeah, I respect that.
So when you just said about the car thing, right? I was working. My stepdad had a cleaning business, did very well for it, and from 13, 14, I was doing that. And when I got to about 17, I worked in Next. I had 2 jobs, was making good money at college, blah, 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 bought my first car. And it wasn't really a conversation where I went to my mum like, Mum, do you know what? I want to buy this car. It's $3,000. I've got 1.5. Can you help me? It wasn't even that. Because I was working, I was like, why would I need to ask my mum? Where I got that mindset from, I can tell you, was that intuition, me saying, I don't know. I don't know where that mindset came from.
I think it is because if, Jay, you're talking about, you mentioned the street stuff, right? Now, we all have families who have... This street shit wasn't evolved from black culture, first of all. Let me first of all...
Any culture. Any specific culture.
1,000,000%.
It was triggered.
It's triggered. It's systematic.
It starts from poverty. That's what I think.
Exactly. There are a number of factors that contribute to crime and deviance, whatever that is. I mean, we're not... That's a side topic. But
it's a big side topic.
For real. But what I'm trying to say is, you was talking about the street stuff, right? There was a level of influence.
That's why I said influence.
There was a level of understanding that this can make me money.
Yep.
There was a level of understanding of
risk.
I don't necessarily have this. I don't necessarily have this family-wise right now. My mum might not be able to give me this right now. So let me go and do what I need to do to get this. But if your mum was a millionaire, do you think you would have gone and done it?
Probably not.
There you go.
But then I assume your environment, as in the people you're around, would be the same, right?
Depends, because if my mum was a millionaire, I probably wouldn't live where I was.
There you go. And these are the conversations that I feel need to be had, and it all very much ties in with the intuition thing in terms of parenting.
So sorry to interrupt you.
In terms
what if your parents aren't intuitive?
It's got to be something you got to learn. And this is why I say we have the opportunity when we're having these conversations to actually
do you
give
think
us
intuition
kids the space
comes
to do
from
that.
it? Because think about it this way: how do you say if your kid says to you, I don't know, he comes in with a pair of purple Wellington boots. You say on a Saturday morning, "Where what you want?" Comes with purple Wellington boots. You say, "Why do you put them on?" I don't know. Just drawn to them. Don't know why. Just is that intuition? But of course it's not. It's a silly example, but. Is intuition based on experience, or it just is? Like your intuition might be, let me not do, or maybe it's logic. 130 miles an hour on the motorway because something's telling me not to.
Nah, but I'd say.
So is that because you know
process.
going fast might cause an accident, or because it's
Could
just
be a combination.
I would say
not to do that?
Yeah, that's
a bit
a
both.
You get what I'm
number.
saying?
Yeah,
That's a bit of both. For me, I would probably say intuition is a feeling you get to help make a decision.
From experiences or in just
You
naturally?
can never have experienced that thing ever in your life.
But you'll just know.
You will have a feeling, and I'm saying that element should be developed.
honed more. Yeah.
You know, I'd say, so, you know, like we was talking about, obviously, if intuition can be something you can educate someone with, or whether it's like it just falls into their lap or something, or it's something comes over time. And when I was at school, like obviously going through uni and everything, you know, when people would say, "What do you want to be? What do you want to be?" I had no idea. I went to uni because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah, sure.
And I thought, what subject did I enjoy the most? I enjoyed business studies. No one in business studies ever once said to me in school, at uni, you can be this. All they said is, this is how you work for somebody.
Yeah.
This is what if you want to be a HR manager, this is what you do.
Rich
If
dad,
you want to
poor
be
dad.
whatever,
That's what I
this
say.
is what you have to do for someone. No one told me this is how you be that someone.
Of course not.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until one time I watched, and I always go back to hip hop, but I watched an interview with Jay-Z, and he said, yo, him and Dane Josh on an interview, and they said, yo, he goes, I shopped around this demo to everyone, Def Jam, Bad Boy. He goes, I went to every single record label, because no one gave me a deal. So he said, you know what, we're already producing the music, already producing the beats, recording it, mastering it, selling it, we just set up our own company.
Yeah, of course.
And that made me think that, why am I going to go and like do for you this when I can just build my own thing? And that's not for everyone. I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm saying that's when I realized the first time in my life that I want to be in business.
School and uni, in my opinion anyway, it teaches you to be an employee.
Yeah,
Even if you are working in
yeah,
business,
of course.
it teaches you how to be a great employee.
Yeah.
But they don't teach you how to manage the employees, because why would
Listen,
they?
I studied business from when I finished school.
Yeah.
And I got into my own thing, as you lot know, first year of uni.
I remember still.
Taste
Yeah.
the world.
Nah, student to a start.
Students, yeah. That's it.
So
What was the branding? Atmosphere. Was that your company? Atmosphere.
You know what I'm saying?
Atmosphere,
yeah, Sonny, you remember that shit?
Atmosphere, yeah.
You are- So I learned from a young age that studying business, the best I'll be is a manager. Literally. Business studies taught me I will be a good manager in finance, HR.
Still an employee.
Yeah, like I knew early I was just if I just do this what they say, I'll be a good manager. Wasn't for me. But my point is I had a feeling of more. Get me? I had a feeling of greatness. I had a feeling of achievement, and I went with it. And I love that I followed that path because it took me away from the street stuff. It gave me a focus.
So when you said I love that I came away from that path, do you think that was a balance or a mix of intuition and logic? The logic told you like
I didn't
fuck you,
have
man,
no
this way.
logic because I didn't know how to do it.
So what told you I should go on this path?
The feeling I got,
Okay, so
the excitement I got from it, the
Can I
buzz
ask
I
a
got
question?
from
I
it.
want to draw it right back to what you said at the start, right?
Talk to me
So, what would you do
with.
to inspire or draw out intuition in kids and future kids?
Great question. So what I would do is first and foremost, start studying yourself, yeah? In terms of mindfulness, self-awareness. Be aware of the things you think about. Be aware of the feelings you feel in certain environments, around certain people. These are the signals. No one tells you this stuff.
Yeah.
These are the signals that we have, that your spirit or your intuition is talking to you. And then once you're aware of these feelings, it will then be a case of, okay, you know what? I know when I'm in this situation or when I'm in this scenario, I feel like this. That tells me something's going on here I need to start thinking about. So my point is, start listening to yourself, your body, your mind, and your spirit, because it will tell you stuff you can't see.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? That intuition will tell you stuff that isn't visible for you to make a logical decision. I think they go hand in hand. That being said, just to round off, what would you guys rather make all your decisions based on moving forward? Not that it's going to be like that, but would you prefer to make your decisions on intuition or on logic?
Let me caveat that, because I don't know if you can consciously make a decision through logic, but because we're saying intuition is I just felt it or whatever, I don't know if you can make a decision based on intuition, or maybe you can.
No, you
I
can't
swear
say
people
caveat.
do, like, I
Yeah.
swear monks and them
Yeah.
them kind of
Yeah,
vibes
we ain't
do.
monks. We're just-
I know we're not, but my
Fuck
point is,
You know what I'm saying?
my point is that there's certain people that are so in tune with themselves and that are so enlightened with the world and with
Their
other
spirit
there's dimensions to
No,
this stuff.
Can I just
yeah?
say sometimes you can't trust your feelings though? You know that, right?
I never said feelings.
I was gonna say feelings, intuition is probably different. Though.
But
I'd say your intuition can trigger a feeling.
But you have to be very tuned into yourself to understand the difference between the two.
I hear you.
So you can say, I just knew something. But do you know whether that's your intuition? Is that a feeling? Is that a gut feeling, or whatever it might be?
Typically, that gut feeling is the answer.
That's the instinct.
Yeah.
No, okay, but okay.
Well, I
Let's,
think
But I hear you. I hear you.
Let's say
I think what you're saying, that might not be the right or wrong.
I mean,
conclusion.
ideally, you're going to sit in between the two. Maybe lean more towards one side, more towards one side the other time, but you're going to sit in the middle. But to pick up on what you said, if I had to pick one, I'd always go with my intuition and not sound cocky. It's just because I back myself. So I feel like if I feel it, I can back myself enough to where, even if it don't work out at first, I'm going to make it work. Whereas sometimes going through logical steps and stuff, I don't think I'm applied enough to go through the logical steps. Where I know that if it's my intuition saying, yo, Sunny, do this, go down this route, I'd rather go that way.
Do you think there's more risk in making a decision based on intuition and logic?
Yeah, it's a gamble, but then...
Because with your instincts, it's like, I'm pretty sure I'm right. It feels like this thing could be wrong, but I might be right. I might be wrong. But then with logic, you're like, nah, the maths, like you said about maths, like 2 + 2 is 4. So it's like, well, I know that this can't be right for me.
But
your
how many
instinct will
times?
tell you it might
the
not be
logic-
right
But
for
how
you.
many? Sorry, go on.
But you know the logic in things, like, for example now, like, and I always tell people this, in business, like, I went to uni and studied business, like, and there's a lot of logic in business. Like, there's a lot of, but no one ever breaks it down to, yo, you bought this for 50p, you now sell it for £1, you made 50p profit. But that's business. You could have wrapped it up in the first lecture. I could have come to lecture, sat down, you could have gone, yo, Sunny, how much you pay for this 50p?
That's
Okay, you go say it to Leo for £1, you made 50p profit now.
That's it.
No one ever broke it down to me like that. So I don't follow the logical steps because it's always, I find it's a roundabout way. The kind of, I don't feel it always gets to it. But I think your intuition is going to eventually take you right to where you want to go.
Yeah.
That's just personally,
Cut out
that's
the
for
bullshit,
everyone.
basically, innit?
But then I feel I'm in tune with myself enough to know that. Whereas some people I'd say, bro, go logically because what you're thinking is not the best
Would you
thing.
say you're in tune with it now because you've got experience doing what you're doing?
I'd say because I've took more losses and wins, so I've learned more.
Fair.
Yeah.
So my last statement will be probably let your intuition allow you to make logical decisions, if that makes sense. Feel it
I
first,
think that's perfect.
take it in, and then process it
Make
to
a
make
logical decision.
an informed decision.
But your
Because
question-
too many times,
Your question was, would you rather
be
be able to make decisions based on logic or intuition? Which of the two?
I'm on the fence on that one still. I need both in a minute. The reason I say that is because too many times I've had a gut feeling and not listened to it, and I was pissed that I didn't listen to that. And if I had listened to it,
Let me give.
It's
let me
only
give-
because
let me
something
give
negative
example,
has
right?
happened though.
no, but because I didn't listen to that, I've done something else. But if I had listened to my whatever I was feeling, I could have been whatever. It would have gone a lot better. But I didn't listen to it. I tried to think logically and keep it black and white, and it led me down the wrong way. Not led me down, but the decision I made wasn't the best for me because I tried to keep it simple and I didn't listen to how I was feeling. So you do kind of need both.
But don't you think there's some situations where you can't base it on logic? And what I'd say is, imagine now meeting a partner. That's all
That's not
intuition.
logic. Yeah,
You
it's
can't
all
logically
emotion.
meet a partner,
You
can
can't.
you?
But you know what's
you can. It's like arranged marriage.
Alright.
Now, okay, you tick certain boxes,
Yeah,
but for real love, you can't logically meet a partner.
But you know what though?
Like, I could get your attributes off you, right on a piece of paper, and I could go to like 50 girls and get the attributes and say, Leo, you know what? I've gone for the date and this one matches you the most. But when you sit down and chat,
But then
they're
with that,
like
right? I feel like, for example, if, what we were saying before, where if you meet a girl, let's say your lifestyle is like business, reading, you're kind of indoorsy, and the person you meet is a wildcat, she's out there, she wants to spend money, whatever. Logically, that doesn't make sense.
But I think your intuition would
But
tell
then
you
your
that.
I suppose, intuition will get you to that decision.
If
right?
your soul be intuition, tell you that.
Fair.
For me, I don't know how to answer that question, I don't think I can answer the question personally.
No, it's a mad one.
I don't think I can choose one or the other. I think my intuition plays a big part in my understanding or feeling of circumstances, and my logic plays a big part in trying to rationalize my feelings and the things that are actually happening. So I think they work in tandem. But if I categorically said gun to my head, you have to choose one, I'd probably choose logic, because emotion can very much cloud your understanding of the reality and the facts. And if you feel a certain type of way about something, that feeling might not necessarily be exactly as it is intended. So I don't know, if I say, oh Jay, you're acting like an arsehole, what you might hear in that is arsehole. But what I've said
and
is
feel away.
Exactly.
Sounds
then,
familiar, lads.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Moral of the story, mind your mouth.
but the point is that in that circumstance, if you can take it one way, but it not be meant that
Intended
way,
another way.
and me saying you're acting like one,
I hear
you can be taken by your feeling. Your intuition will say, or your
disrespecting me.
is disrespect, but is it disrespect or do you feel disrespected?
Yeah, I hear that.
And they're two very different things. And I think that's a very big. I think it's an understanding we really actually need to understand in ourselves.
Yeah.
That's
About-
the
so
remember
then-
the
so
example I
very, very
gave
big.
when I said, I can't remember if it was on another pod or a separate conversation where I said to my girl, you're acting like a dickhead, man.
Yeah, you said
She was
it
like,
yeah, still.
You're calling me a dickhead? I was like, no.
Yeah,
You're
I
acting
hear that,
like.
I
You
hear
know what I mean?
that,
So
I
what
hear
she heard was
It's rude though, still.
It's rude still.
For real. But just to round up what you said there was the understanding, which is 100% true. Rapid fire to wrap up the thing. Are you in tune with your intuition?
I'm trying to be, and I continue to try to be. I don't think I am completely, but
Do you listen to it?
not all the time.
Okay, I hear that. Sunny, you in tune with your intuition?
I'd say I am. I don't always think it leads to the best decisions, but I'd say I am.
Marlon?
I think I confuse the both. I feel like my decisions to do or not do something can be based on both. So the logic in me will say, I don't want to do this because this is why it'd be bad for me. But then the intuition in me would say, would question that logic, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I hear that.
Because you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're in any difficulty, but then your intuition, that's basically what
I hear you. And for me, it's something I'm a lot more conscious of. So I'm very, I'm looking forward to becoming a lot more in tune than I am. So to all the people listening and watching, listen to your gut feeling. Yeah, it's there for a reason. Intuition's there for a reason. Listen to it, harness it, and live it.
But build both.